Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa alihi sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows what we reveal and knows what we conceal and even knows what the animals feel. We thank him, we praise him, and on him we have reliance. It is to him we only turn to for true guidance. We ask him to send his peace, his blessings, his mercy on the best of human beings and prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on whom be praised until the very end of our days. We ask him for steadfastness, guidance, mercy, and to never lead us astray, and for him to save us on Judgment Day. We welcome everybody, alhamdulillah, to our session, Ramadan Intensive, our inaugural session, the first session, inshallah ta'ala. And we hope that it's beneficial to everybody. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in this gathering, alhamdulillah, a virtual gathering where we will be encountering the Qur'an and connecting with the Qur'an. And as well as one of the main purposes of this gathering is to focus on our spirituality in a meaningful way. So oftentimes what happens is people, they have love for Ramadan and they have love for the Quran, they have love for doing everything that we say we want to do in this month. But what happens is that we oftentimes may falter in some of the goals that we have in mind, some of the things that we want to get done. And I always thought, what is the reason behind that? And one of the reasons behind that is that oftentimes our tradition teaches us that part of the way you fulfill goals in your life is that you have a spiritual guide. This is the case with so many people in our tradition, that they had a spiritual guide and teacher from the companions themselves, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who had the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ would tell them and ask them, what did you say in your prayer? Meaning accountability. Tell me what you say in your prayer. And the companion would say, Ya Rasulullah, I say such and such. And then the Prophet ﷺ would tell them, say this in your prayer. So among the first things the Prophet ﷺ would focus on is actually practical spirituality, having a direct connection with a student to help them overcome bad character traits, incorporate and grow spiritually by adopting good character traits, as well as practical worship, teaching them what it means to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what does it take for you to have a connection with Allah practically. So these du'as, these adhkar, reciting the Quran, such and such, to the extent that the Prophet ﷺ would have a time at night when he would just go walk around Medina and he would hear what the recitation of the Sahaba was like. What were they reciting in their homes? And then the next day, what he would do is he would tell them, I was walking by the homes of the Ash'ariyin, which were a group that came later to Islam in the 9th year approximately. And they settled near the Masjid Ghumama, for those of you who have been to Medina. Maybe I can show you a picture of it. That was their area where they lived in on the outskirts of Medina, where the Eid prayer was normally held. So the Prophet ﷺ would walk by their homes, and he said, I stopped to hear the one that you would recite at night, and it impressed the Prophet ﷺ, and he loved that. And that teaches you the kind of care a teacher should have with their students. And also the fact that the flock of the Prophet ﷺ, he even said that I am in like the position of a father to you, in the sense of how much care the Prophet ﷺ showed for them and their spiritual growth. And this teaches us, everyone, that honestly we are lacking direction because there's no accountability. There's no one that has a sense of giving us direction spiritually. So when we don't have that accountability, it's very difficult for us to be doing things on our own and expecting the same results. This is not the practice of Islam. Even the Prophet ﷺ had Jibreel ﷺ come down to him every year in Ramadan, and they would what? They would recite the Quran together. Jibreel ﷺ would have a muraja'a, which is a review with the Prophet ﷺ. Even the Prophet ﷺ would have Jibreel that would come down to him and he would say, Allah sent me to you to tell you such and such and give legislation for such and such. So this is the importance of having a spiritual guide. Having someone that is a spiritual guide for you is an essential in Islam. And that's why I want to ask you all a question, inshallah. I want to ask you all a question. The question is, what is the very first command in the Quran after the 5 pillars? What is the very first command in the Quran after the 5 pillars? So you're now Muslim. You've accepted faith. You're doing the 6 pillars. You are now, trying to start to pray. You're trying to fast in Ramadan. You're trying to give your charity. What is the very first command? You can, by the way, one of the ways that you can participate is by pressing on raise hand, and then when you have your hand raised, I'll unmute you and you can talk, or you can just type it if you like. All right, so we have Hudayfa, Musabbika, Noor, Ikram, all of them say, ask the people of knowledge. Really? Is that the first thing? Is that the first thing? What is the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read? Good. All of that is true. Read. You already read. You iqrad, and now you're Muslim. So you've already done the reading. The first thing that is the first command in the Quran after a person accepted Islam and they've read and so on and so forth is what? Exactly what you mentioned. That was actually a trick question. Okay, so whatever you guys mentioned is exactly true, and that is to go to the people of knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go to the people of knowledge if you don't know. So there was an atheist who wanted to, have like a got you question to to a Muslim, like he wanted to put him in a hard spot. He says, does your Lord say that in this book there is everything? فِيهِ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ. Everything is in this book. And the Muslim was like, yeah, everything, there's guidance for everything in this book. So he said, really? Okay, so tell me, how do you make this particular bread? Show me where it says in the Quran. I want to see it. He's like, okay, I'll tell you. No problem. Just give me a moment. He opens the Quran. He reads the verse, and then he picks up the phone, and he makes a phone call. He makes a phone call to the bakery, okay? And he's like, can I speak to the baker? He's like, yeah. He's like, look, man, I really want to make this bread, this sourdough bun this guy's telling me, right? And can you just, give me the rough estimates? I don't want your secret, recipe. I just want to know how to make this bread generally. Just give me some guide. So he's like, yeah, take this, you take this, let the yeast sit with the dough and whatever. You can tell I don't know how to cook that. So the point being is, he puts it in the oven, and that's how you do it. Okay, great, awesome. So he goes to the guy. He's like, okay, this is what you do. Blah 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 blah. This is what the baker told me. This is how you make the bread. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? This is not in the Quran. Where you like? He goes off, right? He's like, of course it's in the Quran. Allah says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Ask the people of expertise if you don't know. These are people of expertise. That's what we're going to go ask. So that's what the Quran means in terms of absolute guidance. And number 2, having a guide. And not only that, I want you all to just reflect on this. Even Musa alayhi salam, a prophet of God, had a guide. Khidr, or Khadir, as some say, right? And that whole story that we keep repeating every single Friday. I find it very weird and awkward that we repeat this verse every single Friday about Musa alayhi salam learning a lesson that he does not know everything. And Musa alayhi salam being told that you have to have a spiritual guide. And Musa alayhi salam being told that you can't just think that your own opinion is going to matter, even though you're a prophet of Allah. Revelation comes to you. But you still need to go to having that sense of spiritual guide and knowing and being humble to the fact that you don't know everything. And still, we don't have that. We have Sheikh Google and Mufti YouTube. Okay? Not that there's anything wrong with the beautiful things that are happening on YouTube and benefiting from them and all of that. That's all great. That's amazing. It's not negating good things that are happening. But part of it also is to have a spiritual guide. It's to have someone that you turn to, that at least you run things by. At the very least, that you can ask if what their opinion is. And spiritual guides here have to have knowledge. That's what Imam Al Ghazali said in his book Deliverance from Error, which is an amazing book. I really recommend, inshallah, that you all read it, but we're going to read parts of it, inshallah, together here. And he said that spirituality without knowledge is being lost. Why? Because all these people saying, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious, right? What are they in essence saying? They're basically been introduced to faith in such a complex and maybe convoluted way that religious trauma has made them not want to be part of that that religion or faith. And that's why the word religion in reality and the concept does not exist in Islam. The word religion is a Eurocentric concept that came from white Europe being sick of the church. And that separation of church and state that took place was because they got sick of the convolution of religion. Our faith doesn't have that. Alhamdulillah, we are the Reformation. So remember the Reformation, the Protestants, they got sick of the church and said, you know what, everybody's got to, they learn about their own worship and etc. We're going to worship God the way we want to. We're not going to listen to the church. So I want you all to understand that our faith, we are blessed with a guidance from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who was a guide to his companions. The companions were a guide to the tabi'een. They were a guide to the tabi'een. They were a guide to others, and so on and so forth, all the way to our teachers, who were guides to us. So there's an epistemic spiritual isnad. We all have a spiritual connection back to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Who were your teachers? And if your teachers was a computer, then you don't have a connection. If your teacher was an iPad, that's not a connection. That is information. That's good. That's a blessing. But to have a connection which gives us contextual understanding is extremely, extremely important in our faith. And I want you all, inshallah, to just remember, this is part of what we wanted to start this with. Okay? So a lot of people are running after two things: motivation and they call ghada al-ruh wa ghada al-aql, right? The spiritual nourishment, and they want also intellectual nourishment. People want substance these days. So a lot of times what happens, we're done with the Molotov cocktail of motivation, where you're like throwing, you know what, like what I call the Molotov cocktails at people. You know that one khutbah where like, mashallah, the khatib is very excited, which, you know, I could be one of them in the sense of just being very loud and you know, the energy and everybody's crying, and then, you know, mashallah, or the YouTube video you watch, it's always about death and the sense of, you know, okay, wake up, when are you going to do things, and that kind of thing. And not only that, the motivational lectures that we listen to, where it's about that 2-minute clip or 3-minute clip of motivation, and then you have another down. So then what do? It's like a drug. You keep listening to motivational talks to give you that spiritual high. Whereas the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he didn't teach the companions in that way. The Prophet ﷺ, he would give them substance-based learning where they could grow based on having a continuous and constant connection with their Lord. So when they have depth of knowledge from Rasulullah ﷺ, that's what helped build them in their spirituality. And in essence, this is something, you know, we're really missing. We're definitely missing. And that has a lot to do with a number of things. I mean, our communities are colonized and have colonized mentalities for how we look at knowledge itself. We're still reeling from the colonization era. So a lot of immigrant families and immigrant communities that are built on Islam that was from back home are still reeling from this idea that we have to go against the colonizers. And that in reality has caused Islam to be in a bubble that hasn't changed and developed to fit the needs of modern society in some communities. And in other places, the qualification of some of the people are still not to par to what people actually need. So when we talk about relevancy and we talk about qualifications of people that know the community, know how to deal with people who've accepted Islam, know even the fiqh of people who've accepted Islam and how they should deal with their families. And when somebody doesn't have an answer, what happens is, well, for example, they face depression or mental health issues, they tell them, go read the Qur'an, you'll be okay. So these kind of things, and learning how to deal with abuse, and being able to cater to all of the different needs in the community of a multicultural aspect of modernity is something we're missing, right? So there's so many different reasons. And also the fact that a lot of people, when you tell them, okay, go to qualified scholarship, they'll say, well, I don't have that. I live in such and such place. There's like nobody. Or the masjid or the mosque is so different, so far from me. There's one sister, she accepted Islam like in Kansas. She's like, I have to drive 50 miles for Jumu'ah just to hear about Allah and His Messenger. You know, that like put tears in my eyes, right? A person's driving like 30 to 50 miles, single mother, does not have a support system, and what are you going to tell her? There's no one that is there for her. So alhamdulillah, technology, alhamdulillah, at least made it easy for us to come together in this sense and to fulfill the need. And I want to impress that on you all, inshallah, and this is why we started this, so that we can have a Ramadan with accountability, have a Ramadan which we can, inshallah, grow from, and benefit from, inshallah azza wa jal, and that we can also be connected with the fact that our spirituality has to come from substance. It can't just come from motivational talks, right? Motivational talks have a place, and it's called maw'idah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about it in the Quran, this admonition that you need, a reminder that will make your soul trigger so that it can lead to something positive. That's definitely needed. But your entire faith can't be based on that. Your faith has to be based on substance, and that's where we are, inshallah ta'ala. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to send you all in the Telegram chat and channel. So make sure that you're in both of those. We have a channel which is all the resources, so that you have, there's no chatting or anything like that. You can just go to the resources and get them. I'm going to send you a number of things. Number one, we're going to send a schedule of what we're going to do for the rest of the time here until the end of Ramadan, inshallah. And number two, I'm going to send you a daily routine, which I'm going to show you, inshallah. And I'm going to also send you a number of resources, for example, like where you can find making adhkar regularly. And also, we're going to separate you all into smaller groups. So groups of, we have about now almost like 110 people, mashallah, from all over the world. We're going to separate you in groups of at least 5 and maybe more. So what we're going to do is I'm going to send you all, inshallah, a link where you're going to give me some information about yourself, and then we're going to separate you into these groups. And these are accountability circles, inshallah. So what happens is I want you all during the week, every single day, you will send a check or a thumbs up or whatever when you fulfilled one of those tasks. So you have tasks on yourself. You will mention those tasks that you have for your daily routine. And every single day in Ramadan, you're going to send a check mark for fulfilling the task or not fulfilling the task. And that's a form of accountability. So to know that we are fulfilling our dailies, and also to be supportive of one another. The other thing that I will also encourage in the group is just collective reflection of things that you come across, really awesome points, or things that when you're reading in the Quran, you share with your group and you maybe have a discussion about it, and you have a sense of caring and reflecting actively with the Quran, which is the main point of Ramadan. The last thing is obviously spirituality has to do with action and reflection. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala focuses on that in the verses of fasting, when he connects three main maqasid or objectives of fasting. Number one, the fasting itself. And number two, the Quran. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran." And number three, dua. Okay, so these are the three components that we're going to focus on, inshallah, greatly. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. And the way we're going to do it is there is going to be a section where we discuss a dhikr in some detail, so that we can connect to the adhkar and not just simply say them. Oftentimes what we do is we think that dhikr is just saying subhanallah, 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 and just like cranking it out and you're done. Or saying alhamdulillah, like that's not what dhikr is. Dhikr is not about just saying the words. What we want to do is active dhikr, to understand what we're saying and why we're saying it. So I really encourage you to listen to the 2 Jumu'ah khutbahs that I've given, Jumu'ah reminders on my Facebook page. I'll send it in the group, inshallah, where it talks about Ramadan and its importance and how we can organize and harvesting potential, as well as what Ramadan and the meaningful and the objectives of Ramadan were. So I talk about 2 khutbahs. They're about, or reminders, I'll say, they're about 30 to 40 minutes, talking about in detail and discussing these 2 aspects. I will send them, inshallah, in the group, just to give you an idea of what things we should be focusing on. So that's going to be just the first portion. The second portion is going to be Tafsir of Surat Taha. And the third portion is going to be an active discussion with this book, which is called Disciplining the Soul by Ibn Al Jawzi, Rahmah. If you don't have the book, I really suggest that you order the book, okay? And if you don't have the financial means, or you can't get it for any reason, then I've given the link in the resources that I will send, inshallah ta'ala. The PDF is already there. Okay, excuse me, I won't send, it's already there. So the PDF is already there. Again, I highly encourage supporting Muslim businesses for 2 reasons. Number one, this is a private publication company, and private publication companies make their money off of obviously sales. So if for me, I have a particular fatwa when it comes to books. If it's not available and you don't have any means of getting it, then PDFs are fine. There's no, I mean, how are you going to get it? There's no possible way, then PDF is fine. And number two, when it comes to large publication companies, extremely large publication companies, which already have contracts with their authors, right? For me, PDFs in that sense is fine. Because they're making their cut in general anyway, whereas small publication companies, they're literally making it off the sales that they have over every single book, and supporting Muslim business is something that we support, inshallah. But in general, that's my fatwa on PDFs in general. You're welcome to agree or disagree. That's not the point, alhamdulillah. So in any case, we're going to, inshallah ta'ala, start with the adhkar portion of this. So I want to share with you all just the daily routine so that you guys can look at it that I'm going to send. And for you all as students with Ramadan Intensive, you're going to get a more detailed as well daily routine, which I'm going to share with you adhkar, which a lot of people, unfortunately, even in the books of like Make Dua or My Dua or Essential Dhikr, the morning and evening adhkar, which they don't mention some of these. So I'll share that with you, inshallah azza wa jal, in the resources channel, so that you guys have it. So this is, you guys can see the Ramadan to-do list. You will get this, so don't worry about it. I want you to just look at it. You will get this, inshallah ta'ala, in the resources. I'll send it to you, inshallah. So I want you all to just, this is a suggestion of your daily Ramadan to-do list, inshallah. Number one, Qur'an reading. So set a time where you can read the Qur'an and its translation. So a lot of people are like, well, what should I do? Should I reflect on the Qur'an or should I read the Qur'an? Okay. And I have an article that I've translated, which I will also send, inshallah, in the resources channel, which is detailing what's better, reflection or a citation. And too long don't read, right? TLDR. There is no mutual exclusivity between the two. So you should have a portion where you're reading and you should have a portion where you're reflecting. Okay. So that's something I want you all to just remember. You have to have active reflection of the Quran. Otherwise, simply reciting the words is not the message or the objective of the Quran. So translation is extremely important, and we've given you two suggestions for the translations. One of them is the clear Quran, which is I will show you right now. Right here. This is the clear Quran. The screen did not change. Okay. Okay. One moment, please. So let me show you the clear Quran, which you can actually access on the internet. This is the clear Quran, and this is one of my favorite translations of the Quran. Alhamdulillah, you can just go on their website. When you go on the website, on the right side, you will see the clear Quran online, and then you can access it in this beautiful, easy to read way. Okay, so we're gonna use the clear Quran and switch also between this other translation of the Quran, which is let me show you that, which is called the Oxford Press translation of the Quran. You can see it here, and this is also a good translation of the Quran. And you can, inshallah, benefit from it.
Yes.
And this translation and that translation, both of them are really good. It depends on which one you like it. I know people that have never, had a chance to read the Quran from cover to cover. They said that when they read this one or that one, they couldn't put it down, and they finished, alhamdulillah. One of them finished in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, just reading this one. So alhamdulillah, it's very the translation flows and it's accessible language. Of course, with every translation, we're always gonna have preferences, and certain things maybe we would like it better worded, but that's just, everybody has a preference in how we say things, right? But again, these two main translations of the Quran. Going back to the Ramadan to-do list, also focusing on dhikr in the morning, in the evening, and after prayer. A lot of us, we have difficulty with our adhkar, so setting time for that. And I really recommend a Tafsir podcast. I'll give you suggestions like Sheikh Yasir Qadhi or Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim's Tafsir Surat Maryam. I really recommend because it has to do with Surat Taha. So you can listen to the Tafsir of Surat Maryam by Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim, which is on Muslim Central, I think. You can easily download it and listen to it as a podcast. And it's really good. I attended that live 15 years ago. Okay? Well, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. In any case, point being is me and Sheikh Yahya go way back. He delivered that in Austin, Texas. So, mashallah, it's very nice. I'm also doing Tafsir Surat Al-An'am. What's the link to the Clear Quran? Just type the Clear Quran in on Google. Just type the Clear Quran on Google. I believe it's theclearquran.com or .org. Inshallah. So again, the Tafsir podcast. That's the one I recommend. One moment, please. Okay, so that's with regards to the Tafsir podcast. There's also other ones like by Sheikh Abdul Nasir Janga, by Umar Suleiman, by Mufti Menk. I mean, you have a lot of options, ideas to focus on. So the idea also, lastly, focus night prayer and dua. Focus night prayer and dua. We'll discuss, inshallah, Azza wa Jal. And honestly, one of the most beautiful things about this quarantine is having time with the family to focus on recitation of the Quran, and also, like, between the prayers, not only that, like to pray and have focus while we're praying, but also between the prayers is just kind of having like active reflection. If you have a translation of the Quran, reading maybe a portion of what was recited, and then just speaking about it. So what I'm doing is every day on Instagram and Facebook, I'm doing a collective Quran reflection with someone. So yesterday we did it with Hassan Faye, and it was just beautiful. It was just 3 ayat, and we're talking about it for 30-40 minutes, just back and forth, just things that come to us. What is active reflection? Okay. Daily dhikr, I give you some things that you can do, inshallah, which is encouraged by the sunnah of the Prophet, ﷺ, and we'll talk about their meanings, inshallah. Okay. So this will be sent to you. For those of you who ask, can we take a screenshot? Yeah, you can take screenshots, but I'm sending it to you in the group. So you can take screenshots of things, of course, no problem, but you're going to get this in the group, inshallah, shortly. All right. So first and foremost, we're going to discuss the beginning of Surat Taha. But before we do that, inshallah, what I want you all to do is I am going to send you a link right now. You cannot click on it, so just remember that. You have to type it out because for some reason Zoom does not allow that. Okay? It is called bit.ly TLIRI 2020 goals. Okay? I want you all to fill this out, inshallah. I'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes. I want you all to fill this out. Everyone, please go to that link and fill it out, inshallah. Go to the link and fill it out. For the name, just your first name is fine. You don't have to write your full details. I don't want your social security address and all that, or number and all that stuff. So just write, so we can recognize who it is. Inshallah. Repeat what, Lulu? What should I repeat? The link is right there. If you look right above, you'll see it. Yeah. So just go to that link. It'll take you to a Google form. Okay. And start filling out the link, inshallah. I'll just go over the questions. All right. Number 1, what's your name? Obvious. Gender, obvious. Age. Okay. Email address. What are your spiritual goals this Ramadan? Okay. You can't go from Zoom. You have to copy and paste that link. You cannot click on it. You have to copy the whole thing or just type it in. Okay? What are your spiritual goals this Ramadan? What bad habits do you want to work on leaving? And what character do you want to build? You can list a few things. And okay, I want you all to be practical, right? Don't start naming things that you won't be able to achieve in a month, right? I want to forever stop arguing with anyone. Okay, that's not practical, right? You want to work on short-temperedness. You want to work on not being annoyed quickly, right, at people. You want to work on not responding to those you disagree with. You all see that meme where a person's like on the computer really upset and their spouse is at the door. They're saying, hey, are you going to come to bed, honey? And the person says, hold on a second, someone is wrong on the internet. Yeah, don't be that guy or that person or that woman, right? So focusing on these kind of practical things, it's easy, you know, that we can write them down. They're achievable. There's something that we can work on, inshallah. All right. And what character do you want to build on? It's not number, but anyway, what are your goals with the Quran recitation reflection? Like, I want to read at least one juz of the Quran a day. I want to read at least half a juz of the Quran a day. I want to read 2 pages of the Quran a day. Whatever it is, practical, give me something that's quantifiable and tangible. Don't say, I want to do 15 khatams, inshallah. Okay, that's, mashallah, amazing. But I want you to be practical and give me something that's tangible, right? And 15 khatams for some people is doable, mashallah. That's great. You can do that, awesome. Write that down, but it's got to be tangible to you, okay? Because I'm gonna hold you accountable. So whatever you write here, it's got to be an accountable thing. So when you're not fulfilling it, then there's going to be some interesting discussion, inshallah, right? What's the reason? What's stopping you? Why is it not happening, right? And obviously, some people have emergency situations. Some people, you know, the main issue is laziness. That's the main issue that we're trying to overcome. And that's why accountability, when you're accountable to somebody, what are your goals with regular dua? Like, how often do you want to make dua? And like, how in the day do you plan to do so? And what kind of things are you focusing on your dua, right? Person, you don't have to be, you don't have to sincerely be specific, right? But like, for example, relationships, looking for a spouse, wanting to have kids, all right? A job, success in a business, Jannah, obviously, right? These kind of things, alhamdulillah. But if you have something specific, you can mention that specific thing. What are your goals with dhikr? Like, do you do the morning and evening adhkar? Is that a goal? A lot of us, like, maybe the morning will hit, but the evening we can't. Like, what's stopping us from doing so? Okay. Where we copy and paste the link. Just take the link that I sent you and paste it into a browser and hit enter. Put it in Google, put it in Safari, put it in Firefox, put it in Chrome, whatever, inshallah. Okay? Yes, you have to reveal them to me, Habibi. Okay? So you write them down, inshallah. That's the whole point of accountability. What are your goals with time management? What do you waste your time on usually? Right? Netflix. You know there's an activity called scrolling Netflix. This is an activity for some people. Like, what are you doing? I'm scrolling Netflix. I know some people, they're scrolling the entire time until they fall asleep. They don't even watch anything. So that's a waste of time. Waste of time. WhatsApp groups, forwarding things, like being the news source of the world, right? So just constantly being on WhatsApp. You did it on Google, couldn't get in, sorry. So I want you all to do something. I want you all to just literally copy this link exactly into your browser. You don't have to put it in Google. Put it in your browser where it says, www dot, put this instead. Okay? Can I explain the dua part? Yeah, inshallah. The dua is, what are your goals with regular dua? Let me give you something practical. Like dua in sujood. Do you make dua in sujood? No, I don't make dua in sujood. Okay, so I want to make dua in sujood. I want to make dua, for example, 10 minutes a day. I want to have a focused dua, all right? What are your goals with dua? Or do you want to have more meaningful dua? Is dua just now like, Rabbana atina fid dunya, and then you're done? Like, you're just saying these things. So what are your general goals with dua? Whatever you think of that question, inshallah. And then what do you want to focus in on your dua, inshallah, in particular? Okay? What are your goals with family and relationships? I want to just like focus on this a little bit, because oftentimes we think that Ramadan is about yourself, and we think that Ramadan is about others in terms of feeding people and giving charity and all that. But you know that after all the verses of Ramadan, you know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says? أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah has made it easy, الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ, to be with your wife at night, and to spend time with her, and to be together with your spouse. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, discussing family relations at the end of these verses, which is powerful. It's one of the longest actually verses talking about some of the rulings with regards to marital relations and being with one's spouse, but more importantly, the idea of family. So family is such an important thing in Ramadan, that oftentimes what happens is, when you're getting ready for iftar, there's a war that happens in the house before the guests come. I don't know if you've seen that before, right? People are arguing and like, hurry up, and these kind, and they're horribly treating each other on the way for serving guests. And the Prophet ﷺ is described to be the best to his family, meaning the best of character, the best of what you show to others should be to your family first before it should be to anyone else. What do? We reserve our best face for strangers, and our sometimes relationships are sometimes corrosive, and that's problematic, right? So one of the goals of Ramadan is actually to better the relationship with the spouse. Allah even says, in the night, spend time with your family, spend time with your spouse, and that's very powerful. The idea that Allah it's like a focus, right? That spending time, quality time, is important. Like at the dinner table, like I said, now we're in quarantine, mashallah, so you can have active reflection, where after the prayers, the Tarawih prayers, you actually turn around, you ask, hey, what do you think about this verse? What do you think it was talking about? And let's read this translation, let's talk about it. And then having this moments where you're like, it's like a Qur'an jam session, right? You speak back and forth on deriving benefit from it, inshallah. Okay? And last, if there's any other goals that you have in Ramadan, you can mention it as well. So, who is not done? Okay. So take your time, inshallah. I'm going to share with you some other things, inshallah. So just write. You keep writing. Don't worry. All right. I'm just going to turn off my video for 1 second. Okay, inshallah. Okay, awesome. Inshallah. All right, so what I wanted to share with you all, inshallah, is a really good summary of a book by the name of Atomic Habits. Okay, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and discussing atomic habits, how to easily build good habits and break bad habits. It's a really good book in doing so, and I want you to see some of the things that they summarize, so that you can benefit from it, inshallah. Okay, so let's do that. All right, you will see a screen share right now. This is the book by James Clear. Okay, and so we want to talk about Atomic Habits, which is by James Clear, which will help change habits, proving the easy way to build good habits and break bad ones. Okay, this is the first section, how to create a good habit. He talks about a number of laws. Okay, so you have 4 laws and inversion of laws. The first law, just to zoom in here, he talks about make it obvious. Okay, and he has 4 points on it. Number 1, fill out the habits scorecard. Write down your current habits to become aware of them. So we're doing that already. We're writing down the habits that we're working on. Okay, and you can write down as well your current habits, that's what you're working on, right? Use implementation intentions, and this is by saying I will have X behavior at such time in this location. So we've already doing this. We will have whatever behavior you're working on time management, and focused dua after Fajr. Okay, doing the morning adhkar without moving from my spot after this prayer. Okay, at this location, we already mentioned this, alhamdulillah. Number 3, use habit stacking. After this current habit, I will get the new habit, right? So designing your environment, make the cues of good habits obvious and visible. It's kind of self-explanatory. We already are in the environment where we're inculcating habits, which is this Ramadan Intensive. That's its purpose. The second law is make it attractive, and there's 3 points. Use temptation bundling. Pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. So oftentimes, like, you need to pray, right? So part of that is ending it with this dhikr that you're not going to get up from or touch your phone until you get it done, right? Number 2, join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Well, welcome to the Legacy Institute Ramadan Intensive. That's the whole point, right? Create a motivation ritual. Do something you enjoy immediately before a difficult habit. So once you're done with, for example, Taraweeh, I'm going to have my sukkari dates with a nice cup of tea, mint tea, for example. It's just a form of reward. Alhamdulillah, we finished this. And at the end of the day, you know, guilty pleasures are nice, but you might have also, like, you know, health goals as well. I'm not trying to crush samosas this Ramadan, for example. Okay, so you can just define your goals more easily. Okay, by having a motivational ritual. The third law is making it easy. So reduce friction, decrease the number of steps between you and your good habits. What we mean by that is oftentimes you have so much that you need to get done that you don't get anything done. There's just so much on your to-do list. So break it down. Why do you have so many different steps? One of them is very simply when you say, like, let's say you want to do half a juz of Qur'an. Good, you wrote that down. I want you all to write down how many pages are in your Qur'an for half a juz. Okay? Then I want you to time yourself reading one of those pages and time yourself. How long is it going to take for you to do that? Then multiply that by the number of pages. Then you know exactly how long half a juz takes. Okay, a lot of times people don't do that. I want you all to understand, people did this, and in Morocco, one of my friends, mashallah, he lives in Morocco now, he's German, and he said that in Morocco, they use this technique to finish the Qur'an every 3 days now. So they've timed themselves to finishing 10 juz a day. And look, these guys are on like volume 2 of Ramadan Intensive, okay? So they're on another level for sure. But I just want you to understand the same technique is being used, which is you need to break down whatever your goal is. You have to break it down. And the breaking down is something that you need to do in this tangible way I just told you, okay? So with the Qur'an, with the dhikr, with your du'as, break them down into times, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, okay? So that what happens is your body is not used to this. It's not used to being timed to do these things. But what happens is when you do them, you will then build the habit of the time, and you'll find yourself naturally fulfilling it. So for example, Aisha radiallahu anha has said about the Prophet ﷺ that he used to get up for Fajr, right? Just when he wanted to. When he wanted to, literally. So getting up for Fajr was like a muhiba, or a means where the Prophet ﷺ just got so normal used to it that he just woke up for Fajr. So a lot of us make that claim, but we oversleep because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna wake up. Well, no, you need to have an alarm, right? For example. All right. Continuing, inshallah. Oh, wrong page. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So the next aspect is master the decisive moment, optimize small choices that deliver outsized impact. And this is somewhat relatable to, obviously, the impact of understanding the importance of the Quran, so on and so forth. Use the 2-minute rule, downscale your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less. This sometimes won't apply to us, to some of the habits that we're trying to build, right? It might require to just specifying the amount of time, which I've just described to you, okay? Automate your habits, invest in technology and one-time purchases that lock in future behavior. So there's really, mashallah, some really good reminder apps I want you all to use. Google Calendar works really well. Actually, you don't have to just invest in all these kind of things. Google Calendar sets where you have automated times that remind you, for example, hey, did you do your dhikr, etc., so on and so forth, right? Or you can set apps which are for free that will remind you for your to-do list. One of the things I want everyone to do, inshallah, is to get a to-do app and to put these to-do lists, your daily Ramadan routine, on your app. And for example, in Android, you can make it as a widget. I'll show you right now, okay? You can make it as a widget so you can see it. I want you to show you. All right, so this is mine right here. Okay, so you can see this is like a general to-do list, and it comes on the screen itself. So it reminds me every single time I pick up my phone, you have this to-do list of things that you need to get done, and you can set them. You can even have more than one to-do list, and it's a nice app and widget for to-do list. That's part of actually the Android and Samsung thing. I'm sure you iPhone users have something like that. Masakin iPhone users. Yes. Okay. So back to this. The fourth law is making satisfying, using reinforcement. Give yourself an immediate reward when you complete your bad habit. We talked about that. Some of these are emphasizing. Again, this is not like Quran and Sunnah. So, you know, the guy, mashallah, needs to write a book which is practical, but at the same time, he keeps emphasizing a few things. Give yourself an immediate reward. We mentioned this. Number 2 of the fourth law, make doing nothing enjoyable. When avoiding a bad habit, design a way to see the benefits. Imam Al Ghazali talks about this. He said that staying away from sin is actually a good deed in itself, right? So the fact that you're not doing something that's harmful to you is actually a reward for you, right? Use a habit tracker, keep track of your habit streak. We're already doing this. We're doing accountability groups. And lastly, never miss twice. When you forget to do a habit, make sure you go back on track immediately. And that's what accountability circles also do. So we're ahead of the curve with Mr. Clear here, okay? All right, so let's pull this out. Okay. This is the next page. The inversion of the first law of how to break a bad habit. Number 1, make it invisible. Reduce exposure. Does this sound familiar to y'all? Remember the famous story of the man who killed 99, right? What was his problem? He was in a bad environment. He was in a bad environment. So just stop being around toxic people if you're working on your toxic level. You know, people who annoy you, why are you watching them? For example, people on Twitter, for example, or social media, they complain about such and such person or this individual who is you know, horrible Islamophobe, etc. Why are you constantly exposing yourself to these people, right? It's harming you, if anyone. So this notion that you know, I have to be constantly aware. Just don't be around things that annoy you or whatever is that habit that you're trying to fix, right? The second law, make it unattractive. Reframe your mindset. Highlight the benefits of avoiding your bad habits. Okay, and we're going to do that with the book Disciplining the Soul, so that works out, inshallah. The third law, make it difficult. Increase friction, increase the number of steps between you and your bad habit. Like, for example, you know, anything that's harmful to you, like, for example, Netflix. You know what people are, I'm not saying Netflix is harmful. I'm saying like overt time on Netflix could be harmful. So what happens, what you can do is sign yourself out, delete the app. So you have to actually go to the thing and download it and then just sign in. It's just too much work. So I don't want to do it. Okay. And I'm not saying again like you need to just block Netflix this entire Ramadan. I'm just letting you know to see if Netflix happens to be a thing that you waste massive time on, then you need to refocus by making it difficult for you to spend so much time on it. I was just, thank you, Abdullah Martin. I was literally just about to say, awesome. There are screen timers for certain apps, and they tell you like how much time you've spent, and also I think some of them actually shut your phone, or I don't know what it does. Okay. The second aspect of the third law: use a commitment device. Restrict your future choices to the ones that benefit you. So commitment device, again, we're covering a multiple of these aspects with our intensive. So accountability circles, as well as the fact that you're in this intensive. You paid money to come here. So when you pay money for something, you better, try to at least make use of it. Alhamdulillah, right? Number 4, the fourth law of inversion. A commitment device is a device that will help you commit to leaving a bad habit. So a device for us is our accountability circles. You're committed to the circle. I mean, at the very least, you'll feel shameful of not doing something. And that shame is good. And guilt is good if it's used to propel for positive energy. But what happens is we're products of a shame culture. There's a really good book by Adler called Shame Culture. I really recommend it. How a lot of us, we've grown up with shame culture, this idea of notion of always making us feel that we're not good enough. And that eventually leads to bad behavior in the sense, or behavior which makes a person feels like they always have something to prove. It's because of growing with shame culture. So anyway, that's what a commitment device is. The last law of leaving or breaking a bad habit: make it unsatisfying. Get an accountability partner and ask someone to watch your behavior. Well, Mr. Clear, I think you've repeated yourself over and over again. It's called Shame Culture by Adler, but I think you can just type it in Google and you can find it. I'll try to share it as well. So I want you all to just notice something also. A lot of these books, mashallah, they repeat themselves in like 4 different ways, right? So that's just a part of book writing in the Western world. Okay, you got like charts. We love charts. We love breaking things down. But we've kind of covered already 4 of these things. In any case, create a habit contract. That's exactly what you just did. You all just signed off your life to Ramadan Intensive. I'm just kidding. But the point being is the fact that one of you, even mashallah, brother like Muhammad, he literally was like, we have to expose ourselves to you. That's such a beautiful way to put it. Yes, you do. Yes, exactly. That's what happens when you have a teacher. You have a sense of, I want you all to feel a sense of vulnerability. Okay? And that's important. When you have a sense of vulnerability to somebody, you also want to feel more accountable. And that's important. Okay? So I will send those summaries. So I just saved you from reading this entire book by sending you this, inshallah, summary. He just expounds on it in more and more ways. It's a really good book, inshallah, for you to benefit from. Okay? Inshallah. So the idea being is, first aspect, we want to go every single session from an hour, 15 minutes to an hour and a half. So I will try at my best to not go over, inshallah, to not go over, inshallah. So the first aspect we're going to talk about is Tafsir Surat Taha. Now, Surat Taha is a chapter of the Quran, first and foremost, that was revealed around the end of the 4th year of prophethood to the 5th year of prophethood. Okay? And this chapter of the Quran is the 45th in terms of order of the Quran. 45th in terms of order, according to a great scholar by the name of Ibn Ashur. He says it's about the 45th order. It came after Surah Maryam. Okay? And it kind of leaves off with and continues some of the motifs and the lessons from Surat Maryam, inshallah. So that's an aspect that it's important for us to know when we're delving with the Quran. It's good and important to know when it was revealed in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and importantly, 45th in order of revelation. Yes, 45th in order of revelation. Okay. So when you know the order of the Quran and it's also in relationship with the life of the Prophet ﷺ, what happens is you understand its context better. You understand what is the purpose and meaning and objectives of the entire chapter of the Quran, and also it gives you a deeper sense of appreciation of where to look and to benefit from, inshallah azza wa jal. Okay. What I want to also do is now share with you a breakdown, which I will share with the group as well, of this chapter of the Quran in terms of its objectives and summary. So I want to share this with you so that you can see it, and we will discuss it, inshallah azza wa jal. Okay. This is a breakdown of the chapter. I'm going to zoom in, inshallah, just shortly. Just give me a second. Okay. It's called Quranic Diagrammatic Overview. Okay. I'm sorry. 45th in Revelation means that the Quran that we see now, okay, the Quran that we hold now, the Mus'haf, it is been put in that order by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it was not the order it was revealed in. Is that understood? It was not the order that it was revealed in. It is the order in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam then placed the order in. Okay, so let me just stop sharing this for a moment. It's the order that the Prophet ﷺ placed the Quran's order in, but it was not the order of it, the way it was revealed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't reveal first Surat Al-Baqarah and then Ali Imran, etc. Okay. Oh, good. Shaman, thank you for posting that. You can go to that link and you can go to Surat Taha, inshallah. It's called Quran Diagrammatical Order or Overview. So let me just give you a view of this, inshallah, that you can see it. And this is a really good document which will help you to understand what we're covering, inshallah. Okay, great. Now I'll share with you. The first aspect of this chapter of the Quran is what's its central theme. Okay? What is its central theme? And the central theme is that learn the ups and downs of life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the story of the Prophet Musa. And in the shade of the Quran, the struggle against shaitan and how to overcome your own struggles and your own deficiencies through understanding the influence of shaitan. And showing patience and steadfastness in the face of the Fir'aun of your time. Who are the ones that are causing you pain and difficulty and hardship. In a more simpler breakdown, Surah Taha is basically two stories with a break in between. The first story is the story of Musa alayhi salam, and the second story is the story of Adam alayhi salam and Ibrahim at the end. Okay, and excuse me, Adam and Ibrahim. The story of Adam alayhi salam, and in between, it is the discussion about the hereafter. So these concepts are all for one purpose, and that is to help the Prophet ﷺ overcome the difficulties that he was facing in the early Meccan period. Okay, so two stories: Prophet Musa, Prophet Adam, and then in between about the hereafter. Okay, I'm going to share with you another breakdown, which is an overview of this chapter in particular. And this was done by Ustad Asifuddin. He translated this with a member of our, mashallah, team here who's attending. Sheikh Amr, who's attending with us. Inshallah, he translated this with Asif al-Din. Ustad Asif al-Din. I don't know what the line is for. Okay. What is that line? Okay, anyway. He translated from Awn al-Mubin. Awn al-Mubin. Okay? And also some other sources. In any case. Hold on one quick second. I'm sorry. I don't know what that line was about. Let me share it with you. Okay, great. So this is an overview. I will share this with you, inshallah azza. We're just gonna zoom in here. Okay, so it says the main subjects and topics of the chapter are that Allah's method for happiness, not misery, despite the hardships. True misery occurs when one abandons the method that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has outlined for us, right? And Allah the Exalted in this life and the next. So do not be afraid of religiously undertaking the method of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not think it is hard, severe, or contain distress and deprivation, because every hardship on the road is accompanied by vast mercy, overflowing happiness, and deep contentment. So this occurs via a presentation of a story of the encounter between Musa and Pharaoh, which despite its difficulty show who is truly happy and who is truly miserable. Sometimes people will exercise a lot of power. They think that they show this mirage, the fact that they might be happy, and they're not. Okay. So the story of Musa alayhi salam is a complete example of how Allah the Exalted protects those whom He chooses to convey His message, inshallah. And it does not to show that the level of severity that one faces, we can overcome. And then concluding comments on the story, emphasizing the story of Adam alayhi salam, of the enmity that he received from Satan, and the destination of those who remember the pact of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it comforts the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowing the sense of how to overcome the sense of abandonment, and promising him contentment as well. Yes, you will get a link to these resources, inshallah. Okay, so that's with regard to the start of Surah Taha, and the motifs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides in Surah Taha, again, are two main motifs. Number one, the idea of overcoming hardships, and number two, the different types of hardships we're going to go into, and number three, the idea of what is promised for you, and the fact that there have been those who face the same situation and how to overcome them. And the idea is, as Imam Fakhr al-Razi and others mentioned, tasliyat an-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa taqwiyatuhu, which means to give strength to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in overcoming, and to help him take it easy on himself, the idea of abandonment and rejection, so that it doesn't become a burden on the Prophet ﷺ, and to give him stories of even his father went through that, and Adam having and feeling a sense of an abandonment and also loneliness, and in the wake of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded him. So that's Surah Taha, inshallah. What we're going to do, inshallah, next time is when we discuss Surah Taha, we're going to, I want you all to read the first 16 verses, and I want you to prepare some reflections. So the first 16 verses of Surah Taha, I want you to read, and I want you to have some reflections. I will send that as well in the group as a homework for you all to prepare reflections that you're going to share in your groups. We're going to have breakout rooms that are on your accountability circles, as well as generally in Zoom, and then you will share some, inshallah, and I will ask you a question that you will reflect on and share with you, but you have to have read the first 16 verses of Surah Taha, inshallah. Okay, so that's with regards to Surah Taha. We give you among its objectives, and we will send you those two links, which breaks it down and what we're going to cover. And inshallah, the next session, we're going to cover the first eight verses, inshallah. Okay, now, with regards to disciplining the soul, the last about 10 minutes or so, inshallah, we're going to cover what this book is about. Okay, so the book here is called Disciplining the Soul. And it is actually not the title translation where it's what it's called. So if you look on the very first page, which I'll show you right now, the very first page tells you what this book is about. It's called Tibb Al Ruhani, which means spiritual medicine. That's the name of the book. So they translate it as disciplining the soul, but the real name of the book is actually spiritual medicine, Tibb Al Ruhani. So if you look right here, the translation of Tibb Al Ruhani, right in the middle. Okay? Tibb Al Ruhani means spiritual medicine. But in any case, Allah forgive all the publishers. Ibn Al Jawzi is one of my favorite authors, hands down. Okay? We're going to talk about him a little bit and benefit from the life of this man and how it can teach us even in our own spiritual journey. Okay? And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us stories of people in the past. It's almost as if telling us you can overcome and still achieve the same spiritual level as those who came before you. Okay? And having a connection with the divine. So Ibn Al Jawzi was a great scholar who lived in the end era of the Khilafah and the Abbasid Khilafah. Okay? He lived in the end of the 13th century. Okay? And that was right before the fall of Baghdad by the Mongols. And so Imam Ibn Al Jawzi, he was in a time when a lot of people were overwhelmed and overcome by love of the world and material wealth. So some of the historians like Ibn Jubair, he says, when I went to Baghdad, I couldn't find a single person who did not show with his humility showing off. This is Ibn Jubair. Baghdad, this is where he lived, Ibn Al Jawzi. So what does that mean? That means people were actually even using spirituality as a form of showing off. And this is why it's powerful that Allah, look, gives us scholars for our time. So you'll find every scholar in each era, you'll find an amazing kind of method where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings these people which are right for their time. And that's beautiful and amazing. So Ibn Al Jawzi lived in a time when people were like completely just like overwhelmed with love of political status, love of wealth. He said you couldn't go to the market except somebody's trying to cheat you, Ibn Jubair, and basically the performance of spirituality. So Allah brought them this great scholar Ibn Jawzi that from a very young age he was trained by his teachers spiritually, while everyone else is running after status and wealth and position. Ibn Al Jawzi was trained and under the tutelage of people of knowledge. And he would say, حُبِّبَ إِلَيَّ الْعِلْمِ, knowledge became beloved to me, that I literally grew under its shade since I was young. And just to start off discussing him, inshallah, so we can benefit a little bit from his life. I'll share the screen so that you guys can follow along. And he has this beautiful quote. He has a number of amazing books. This is one of them. The other one is called Sayyid al-Khatir, which I'll share with you, inshallah. He said, every breath we take is taking us closer to death. The time we spend in this world is short. The time we are held in our graves is long. And the punishment for following our lowly desires is calamitous. So the idea being is, take advantage of the time that you have because the consequences are great. The consequences are great. Okay? He continues, let's talk about his life. So his lineage is from actually the lineage of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He's from the lineage of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Okay? So he goes back to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, which is the son of Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So he comes from noble lineage. And he's also a great Hanbali scholar. Hence why I chose the book. I'm just kidding. But the idea being is, he's Hanbali, and he's known for his position in the madhab, and so on and so forth. He was born in 509 or 510 Hijrah. When he reached his adolescence, his aunt took care of him. Why his aunt? Because his father died when he was 3 years old. So he was an orphan. The one that took care of him was his aunt. Okay? And that's why also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, like the aunt is like the mother. So the idea of the position and status of an aunt taking care of him. He was under the tutelage of Ibn Nasir, where he learned a great deal, and he said he was his main teacher. Okay? He came to love preaching while barely having reached the age of puberty. He was known for his eloquence. And this led to him having a large acceptance in circles. So even the rich would invite him to speak, and they would, they would be affected, and they would cry, obviously, because of his beautiful sermons. And subhanAllah, there's even a book of just his sermons that has been recently published. And this shows you that, look, we don't have that many scholars who their sermons are preserved. And subhanAllah, Allah preserved the sermons of this man. And I'll tell you why. In Baghdad, when he would give a sermon, there would be over 100,000 people in attendance. 100,000 people, and that's a lot. That's pretty crazy, right? His birth and upbringing, we already mentioned this. Okay, his relatives were copper merchants. So at times in hadith, you would hear him write his name as Abdurrahman as-Saffar, the coppersmith. His first hadith was in 556. That means he was roughly 46 years old when he first started to narrate hadith. And that teaches you what it requires for knowledge. Like some people, mashallah, they get ijazah when they're like 15 or 18, and they like start spreading the saying of Shaykh Islam. Okay? He was known to be as someone righteous at a young age. He would not socialize with people and would not eat from food whose source was doubtful. What do you mean by socialize with people? He would be social, but he did not engage in much social gatherings, right? Where people would be involved in, obviously, like parties and things like. He wasn't into that. He said, I love knowledge. He said, for me, eating he would have like this cake. He said it was so horrible and miserable. I would sit at the edge of the river and read my book and eat this dry, horrible cake. And he said, I wouldn't care because knowledge it was more sweet to me than the cake. And that's what he said. So he would engage himself in righteousness, and that's what he was busy with. And this is from Allah. Like honestly, there's some people, it's Allah blessed them that they from a young age just love knowledge and they just engage with it. He had a lot of important and well-known teachers, among them Ibn Nasir, who was one of the greatest scholars of hadith in Baghdad. Ibn Nasir was one of the greatest scholars of hadith in Baghdad, and he read Qur'an and with a Hanbali scholar. And the Hanabila were known for being people of Qur'an in general and hadith. Okay, and he learned manners from Tibb Al Ruhani. Again, look, when it says manners, that means these people spent time just perfecting and refining themselves with a teacher, like we kept saying. The idea of having a spiritual guide. And their names were Tibb Al Ruhani and Ibn Al Jawzi, and so on and so forth. His teacher in Quran, by the way, was from Afghanistan. He was from Harul, which was Herat, Al-Harawi. Okay, his students were a lot, and among them were his sons. Okay, his sons, Shams ad-Din ibn Yusuf was also one of his students, and Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, and etc. Okay, so his children, one of the things to know about his children, because he wrote about them, his oldest, Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Aziz, became a jurist in the school of Imam Ahmad. And what happened is one of the family of a well-known noble family became jealous of him and had him poisoned. So he died in the life of his father. So it shows you, like, look, even righteous people are not free from the problems of others, right? Hatred, internal family conflicts, and having to deal with people's cheating them in business. So these people, like, they dealt with all of this. He had another son named Abu Qasim, Badruddin ibn Ali al-Nasikh, and Muhammad Yusuf Muhyiddin. And he was the youngest and most intelligent of them. And he spoke about them. And he wrote about him as well. He also held the teacher of a position, and this son actually witnessed the fall of Baghdad. He's the one who witnessed the fall of Baghdad. So you can see when the Mongols raided and killed like 1 million people in Baghdad, he was among them. He was among them who lived in that time. Okay, so this teaches you the kind of family that they were from, and also the difficulties that they also lived in history. He had over 340 books. It says here 340 books in everything, and they're all, mashallah, printed. One of my favorite is his book about Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and his book about advice of what's it called? The advice of Al-Hasan al-Basri, which are both, I think the Hasan al-Basri book is translated in English. Okay? And this book is translated in Ibn Al Jawzi's The Devil's Deception, all the ways that devil tries to deceive us, and Disciplining the Soul, the one we have in our hands. And this one I will show you right now, which is one of my favorite books ever. It's called Captured Thoughts, Sayyid al-Khatib, by the same company. It is pretty thick, mashallah. And it's basically his notes and his reflections. In any case, to know about Ibn Al Jawzi and the power that he had in captivating people's hearts is because he used to talk to himself. So Sayyid al-Khatib, and he has another book which basically are letters to himself. He would say, my soul, X, Y, and Z, and he would speak to himself, inshallah. Okay? So this is about Ibn Al Jawzi. This book is basically refining your soul from bad habits and bad character and upholding good character. The first chapter is about the virtue of the mind. We're going to cover it, inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow. So with that, I don't want to go over the time limit. We have 1 hour and 26 minutes. I'll leave you 4 minutes for questions and answers, inshallah ta'ala. And we will take any questions, and then we'll continue, inshallah, in the next 2 sessions. Again, for those of you who are wondering what we're doing, okay, we're covering Tafsir of the Qur'an. We're covering this book on reflection of spirituality, and you're going to be making goals of what you're going to get done in Ramadan. We're going to be going into our accountability circles, which will hold you accountable to what those goals are, and have reflections over these chapters to connect with the Quran and to connect with our spirituality, inshallah, during our sessions. So I will speak, and then you will have reflection points, inshallah ta'ala, and we will share with each other, bi'idhnillah. That's what we're going to do in this session by the end of Ramadan, to finish Surat Taha and to cover this book, inshallah, in our spirituality. That's, in short and summary, what this session was about. To define our goals, to speak about what we're doing, and inshallah give you a small introduction of what we're going to start to cover. And then inshallah tomorrow, we're going to begin. We're still accepting students. So we've decided to just keep it open because we have the video and audio saved. So anyone who wants to join, they can join, inshallah. It'll be open for throughout Ramadan. I'm going to make that announcement today. What was the name of the first book the Shaykh liked from Ibn Al Jawzi? The book was The Admonitions of Hasan al-Basri. I will send a link to that, inshallah. Okay? It's really a really awesome book. And then this book is my favorite book of all time after Imam al-Ghazali. It's called Captured Thoughts by Ibn Al Jawzi, Sayyid al-Khatib, Darus Sunnah Publications. Okay? The English language of the translation is okay. But I really wanted to translate this book one day, but alhamdulillah, it came out before I could translate it. So I said, okay, it's all good. But this is really, really good. This is like what you call nighttime reading. It's like his thoughts, so it's just random thoughts. And it's like really beautiful when you, like right before bed, you just read 1 or 2 and go to sleep. All right, anybody have questions? Is there a difference from Seeds of Admonishments and Reform by Ibn Al Jawzi? Those are 2 different books. Are we sticking the times every week? Yeah, but I'm going to send you all a poll on changing the Friday time to possibly Wednesday, because Friday seems a little bit difficult for people, and we want to make it Saturday and Sunday for everyone, and change the Friday time to another time, inshallah. Is disciplining the soul not the same as Al-Ghazali's on disciplining the soul? No, they're 2 different things. So Ghazali's book on disciplining the soul is another book, and disciplining the soul is a book by Ibn Al Jawzi. Okay? Where can we buy Captured Thoughts? On the internet. I have no idea where you can buy it. You can go to Darus Sunnah Publications and Amazon or other websites and just type it in. I honestly don't know. I bought this in a bookstore. Any other questions? Any other questions? Again, if you know somebody that wants to sign up, they can sign up, inshallah. What chapter and verses are we reading tonight from the Quran? Remember, we have a reflection on the first 16 verses of Surah Taha. You should have a daily goal of Quran that you're reading and you're reflecting on top of this. Okay? Timing for tomorrow is still 1 p.m. CST, 2 p.m. Eastern. Yes. When will you know of our accountability circles? Inshallah, we're going to focus on that right now. And we're going to break you into the groups. And you will be put into the accountability circles, inshallah. If you have a preference of who you want to be with, send that privately to me in the what's it called? Our group. Just send it to me privately as soon as possible, so that I don't put you in a circle that you don't want to be. And I will. Otherwise, we're going to break them, inshallah, based on goals as well as just equally based on the number of people that we have, inshallah. Okay. Send it to me, whoever you want to be with, in Telegram, privately on Telegram, not here because this is going to close. I won't be able to preserve all of them. Yes, for the tafsir, read the first 16 ayah of Surah Taha and write reflections, things that you're reflecting on, things that you're benefiting from. And I gave you some sources for tafsir. You can go to qtafsir.com, and you can also check Ma'arif al-Qur'an, and you can also look at Sayyid Qutb's In the Shade of the Qur'an. These are 3 tafsirs of the Qur'an that you can benefit from while you're reflecting, and then inshallah we'll talk about it in detail. Again, I will mention this one more time. Make sure that you're sending on Telegram if you want to be with somebody. Okay? Right now, if you can, please. The Zoom recordings are recorded. They will be put up on YouTube on a private link for us, and I will share it with you, inshallah. And secondly, the audio will be shared immediately in the resources channel. Can we also share potential sources on Telegram? Yeah, send it in the group, inshallah, and then we'll see if it's okay or not. May Allah bless you, Martin. Thank you so much. Thank you all for attending. Ma'arif al-Qur'an. The third source is Ma'arif al-Qur'an. It's like, I think, volumes on it. Okay? I will send everything I mentioned in the group. Don't worry. Anyone have questions? Otherwise, we will end, inshallah, as we have 1 or 2 more minutes until the end. Again, if anybody has any questions, they're confused about what we're doing, etc., please reach out to me privately, and we'll clarify for you anything that you have, inshallah. All right? Jazakumullah khair. Again, any other questions, you can ask, inshallah, in the group as well. All right? May Allah bless you all. Thank you all for your time. And inshallah, I hope that this is fruitful for all of us, and that we benefit in a way that, inshallah, we haven't spent Ramadan like this before. We're on Telegram. Questions about the class, ask in the group. And if you have any questions to me, you can ask me. And also, if you want to be with a particular person, then send it to me privately on Telegram, inshallah. All right? Jazakumullah khair for attending. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ajma'in. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. May Allah bless you all, and thank you for attending. And we'll see you, inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow. For some of you, it will be today, later on. But anyway, assalamu alaikum. We'll see you, inshallah.